In the heart of Nigeria sat a village that many people called home, even those who were not born there. His name was Ogbaku. Ogbaku was not just a village, it was a thriving community, a place of life, movement, and opportunity. Its roads were well connected, its markets were busy from morning till night, and its people were known across the region for one thing above all else: their welcoming spirit. Farmers came to Ogbaku, traders came to Ogbaku, transporters, businessmen, and entrepreneurs from neighboring villages all found their way to Ogbaku, because Ogbaku was a place where a man could work, earn, and live in peace. And at the center of all this peace and prosperity sat their king, Idijiagugu. King Idijiagugu was a man whose heart was as big as his kingdom. He made sure that every visitor who came to Ogbaku was treated with dignity and respect. He made sure their safety was guaranteed. He made sure that no stranger who came to Ogbaku in peace ever left feeling unwelcome. Under his leadership, Ogbaku flourished, and for many years life was good. Then one day, strangers appeared at the palace gates. They came from a neighboring village called Nnobi, and they were in a terrible state. Their clothes were torn and dirty. Their eyes were sunken with hunger. Their bodies were weak from days of walking. They were men, women, and children who had fled their homes in fear, driven out by a violent crisis between herdsmen and farmers that had torn their community apart. They had nowhere to go. They had nothing left. And so they came to Ogbaku, and they threw themselves at the mercy of King Idijiagugu. "Please have mercy on us," they begged. "We have lost everything. We only ask for a place to stay and land to farm so we can feed our families." The king looked at them, hungry, tired, broken, and he made a decision that defined his character forever. He said yes. He gave them land to stay on. He gave them fertile farmland to cultivate. He welcomed them into Ogbaku with open arms, not as strangers, but as neighbors. The people of Nnobi were overwhelmed with gratitude. They settled into their new home, cleared the bush, prepared the land, and began to farm. Slowly, life returned to their eyes. Their children began to play again. Their women began to cook again. Their men began to work again. And for many years, Ogbaku and Nnobi lived side by side in peace and cooperation. But then King Idijiaga died. The elders who had witnessed the king's act of generosity passed away too. And a new generation rose, a generation that had not seen the hungry faces at the palace gates. A generation that had not witnessed the tears of the Nnobi people begging for mercy. All they saw was fertile land, and other people profiting from it. Envy is a dangerous thing. It starts quietly, like a whisper in the market, like a rumor passed between neighbors over a fence. "That land belongs to us. Look how much they are harvesting. We gave them that land, we can take it back." At first it was just talk. Then the talk became demands, and the demands became action. Ogbaku people began taking their land back. Piece by piece, farm by farm, without warning, without negotiation, without mercy. The people of Nnobi were devastated. They had spent years clearing thick bush with their bare hands, years planting, nurturing, and building something from nothing on that land. And now, just as they were beginning to enjoy the fruits of all that hard work, it was being ripped away from them. They went to the new king with their complaints. They explained everything: the suffering, the years of work, the agreement that had been made under King Idijiagu. But the new king turned a deaf ear. "The land is not yours," he said simply. "It belongs to Ogbaku." And with those words, he lit a fire that he could not control. The tension grew day by day. The anger in the Nnobi camp became something dangerous, something desperate, something that had moved far beyond words and complaints. And then one terrible morning, the Nnobi men made their decision. They sent their wives and children to safety. And then they came. They came to Ogbaku with cutlasses and guns. What followed was 3 days that Ogbaku would never forget. 3 days of shooting, 3 days of burning, 3 days of terror. Houses went up in flames. Shops that families had spent their life savings building were reduced to ash. People ran screaming through the streets. The sound of gunfire echoed through the village from morning till night. The guests that King Idijiagugu had welcomed with open arms were burning down his village. By the time security forces from neighboring areas arrived, the damage was already done. Ogbaku lay wounded. Lives had been lost. Property worth years of hard work had been destroyed in just 72 hours. A fierce exchange of gunfire broke out between the security forces and the Nnobi men. Some were killed. Others fled into the bush with injuries, never to return. And just like that, the people of Nnobi were gone from Ogbaku forever. Today, if you walk through Ogbaku, you can still see the scars of those 3 days. Burned foundations where shops once stood, empty spaces where families once lived, and the quiet, heavy sadness of a village that learned a painful lesson. The lesson is this: generosity is one of the greatest virtues a man or a community can have. But when kindness is met with betrayal, and when greed replaces gratitude, the results are always destruction. The people of Nnobi did not just burn Ogbaku's houses. They burned the bridge of mercy that saved them. And a man who destroys the hand that fed him will never find another hand willing to help him again. Ogbaku is rebuilding, but the memory of those 3 days will never be forgotten.